Welcome to Parks and Cons, companion podcast of the parksandcons.com website and YouTube channel, where we discuss cons, theme parks, collecting, and other fun stuff. It's July 3rd, 2022. I'm your host, Sean. I'm here with Carmel.
Hi there.
Parks and Cons, your on-spot podcast, where we take you to the heart of the actual best conventions and themed entertainment events around. Today, we're recording at the LA Convention Center for Anime Expo 2022. This is the return of Anime Expo, with the last show being in 2019. So it's kind of interesting because really the two biggest shows we ever cover are Anime Expo and San Diego Comic-Con. Both of them have been off since 2019, and both of them return this month. So it's a big month here as we're in July, and really that's going to kind of take up so much of the month. There's these two cons with a lot of time there, and so it's been great to be back. We're recording this on the Sunday afternoon. The show this year runs Friday through Monday, so it's always a 4-day show. They have day 0 where you can come and pick up your badge early and things like that, like if you didn't have it, if you didn't buy it in time to have it shipped to you, because they do shipping. They have an RFID model for the badges, things like that. But it's an interesting show just because it's so big, and the LA Convention Center, I know you and I have talked about this in past shows, is not our favorite of the convention centers. There are some positives. My signal has been really good for the phone here. There's they allow outside food and drinks very readily here. In fact, it's written into the plan for the show, so that's nice. So there are some positives, but definitely not our favorite convention center in general. But I think it's been a fun weekend so far.
Well, I think the thing that makes this convention center particularly challenging is that there isn't a lot, like there isn't the campus feel that there is for Comic-Con, because really the events are confined to the convention center and then like a few surrounding hotels and theater and stuff, but it's not but yeah, it's like once you go outside, you're just kind of out in LA. You're not really in kind of a bubble like the gas lamp provides. So
yeah, and LA Live, that area you would think would be more of a campus feel to it a little bit, because it's meant to be like, a shopping eating district there, but it doesn't really have that vibe. And we actually don't usually go over there. It's, very rare that we go over to that side of things there, and because we just find it famously it's overwhelmed. LA Live and all of that area just kind of feels more like it's meant for nighttime kind of, Laker games and stuff like that. So so real quick off the top with the tickets. So the tickets, what was it ended up being, like to a 4-day pass, just to give people the idea? It's like something like $175, I wanted to say, a person, something in that neighborhood. It's around, close to what San Diego Comic-Con is in that very
I was thinking
area.
$160, but with fees, it's probably right around that.
Yeah. And so this year, things got a little contorted with our press application, and so you had submitted it pretty late. They didn't respond. We thought we weren't going to have press. We bought tickets, so I did want to say that in advance, because we enjoy this show and would buy the tickets and come to it. It's not just coming here because we have press. Now later on, they did respond like weeks later, and we ended up, and they have a system where you can transfer, like sell them and transfer them, like Star Wars Celebration did. So we ended up doing that later with the badges. So we do have press here, and press does gives, like, they really treat press better here than probably any convention we've been to. There's a press lounge that's really nice. Some years, I didn't see it this year, but there's been like concession just for press and industry and professionals. And maybe they have it, maybe they don't. They've allowed some early access on the floor with the Premier, because they do have a Premier badge, which is like the high top of the line badge there for the 4 days that gets you like priority seating and panels. But the press one comes with some of those opportunities as well. So there's a lot of things that make it a little easier. And go ahead.
Well, I was going to say one of the biggest conveniences, I guess, of having the press badge is that they do allow us to use the priority entrance at security. And if you've ever been to Anime Expo or have seen pictures of it, you know that it can be formidable with the crowds and getting people in and stuff. And a few years ago, now they've improved the system, but there was a few years ago video of someone following the line to get in, and it went like miles, literal miles, away. And so things are I didn't see that this year, and things have they've worked on their system to better that aspect of things. But yeah, there's long lines to get in and stuff, but having the priority access is incredible, because our security lines are generally much shorter and stuff, and that's depending on the time that we arrive or whatever. So very, very, very much appreciative for that.
Yeah.
I mean, with your feet, standing in lines is so painful and detrimental and really wears you out. And so any way that we're able to stand less is definitely a benefit for us.
Yeah, and like I said, mention it here because it does make some of the things a little bit easier, but we did plan to go. We know what Anime Expo is. I mean, I feel like I've been coming to Anime Expo, maybe not 10 years, but it feels like about 10 years. I started coming to Anime Expo by myself before I'd ever watched anything related to anime, before I'd ever read a manga, anything like that. I very much about like immersive education, and so would come here and kind of slowly have learned, and it's like now I feel like I really appreciate it, and I understand, not that I understand everything, and not that I'll ever understand it the way that I understand, the Star Wars universe or the Star Trek universe or things like that, but I feel like I get what's going on now, and I really enjoy it, and it's a real highlight of the year type of show that I think is a fun time. But the ops are problematic with the just sheer amount of people coming in. I mean, there are, people all over, and that's such a popular show. But I do feel like outside of like somebody who's never heard of Anime Expo coming, I just feel like everybody else that's aware of the show knows that that's part of the process of getting in. Now, that said, they get the people in quickly these days. As you said, in the past, there was like these lines forever, but while the lines look very formidable, like this morning, everybody was in the exhibit hall like 15 minutes into it. So, it's...
Well, today is Sunday, so it's not
Sunday
quite
too.
as crowded
As
in the morning
Saturday,
as Saturday, or even Friday for that matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've definitely worked on their systems. I mean, simply mailing out the badges ahead of time is a vast improvement over when there was that other situation. So yeah, they've definitely worked to improve their ops. I mean, there's always going to be room for improvement, but yeah, I appreciate the fact that they have worked to really improve things over the years, and every year are making tweaks to try to better the situation. And coming back from the pandemic, I mean, I don't think anybody really knew what the situation was going to be. I mean, every show that we've gone to, there's different expectations or different, everybody's just in a different headspace and stuff, and so it's kind of different. I mean, this show, they had, the rules had been for quite a while that everybody needed to be vaccinated or test positive, or not test positive, test negative, have a negative test or be vaccinated. And then they tweaked that, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then
they tweaked it back.
Yeah, because people were upset that they were changing the policies. And so, in this show, masks are required. You do need to show proof of vaccination or negative test and stuff. But so adding even those extra ops, I wasn't sure how that was going to affect things.
Yeah.
So definitely made it very important that we get here on Thursday, day 0, to get the wristband and the badge all situated, because we didn't know also if there was going to be an issue with our badge, because our approval came after the fact of the actual deadlines and stuff. And so there was a lot of reasons for us in particular to get here day 0, but in general, it's a huge benefit in any convention to be able to get your badge and stuff ahead of time.
Yeah, and for the COVID checks for the wristbands, they had the 2 spots set up, and we knew there was going to be no priority for press there, so we just had to get through line. So yeah, we did that, took care of that on day 0. That said, it seemed that system evolved on Friday, and we saw multiple security officers at all the entrances doing checks, which felt more similar to what, let's say, Universal Studios was doing when they were checking vaccines, or vaccine passport type of stuff, is that, they were just checking your ID and checking that around there. So they moved into kind of that mode. But yeah, I mean, those things, are challenging when you're dealing with over 100,000 people. And so there's a lot of tie-in here, actually, too, with San Diego, too. And I always feel like it's weird, because I see in our kind of realm, a lot of times people will try to compare San Diego Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con, and that never really makes sense to me, because New York Comic-Con is a Reed Pop show. That's an entirely different animal than a nonprofit show, and I understand why people want to make that comparison, but I always feel like Anime Expo and San Diego are the two that really should be compared. They're both on the West Coast, both over 100,000 people, both are run by nonprofit 501(c)(3)s. there's just a lot of kind of overlap there. They're both, and in this case, even more with the COVID situation, is both of them had their last shows in 2019. So it was neat to see with this show, though. I mean, after the 3 years away, they came back. They had beautiful programs, just like, you know, in the old days, physical programs. And we know a lot of conventions have let programs go, but they've have them. They've got the awesome badges, which we know some conventions have let badges go and gone with, like, you know, wristbands or things like that, lanyards to go with them.
The badges are like a nice thick plastic, and they are, I think you mentioned RFID, so we do the whole tap in, tap out for them. But yeah, very high quality and very durable.
Yeah, then there are nicer than, like, we just got our D23 Expo ones, and they're nicer than that. Like, these are, there's no better badge than the ones that Anime Expo has for even a single day holder versus, you know, press, everything like that. You know, carpet everywhere, which is a big deal. We've talked about a lot of conventions. I mean, Star Wars Celebration, and that was the thing too. A lot of people compare, like, well, Star Wars Celebration and WonderCon, or Star Wars Celebration and San Diego Comic-Con. And again, so different with Star Wars Celebration being run by Reed Pop and, more importantly, Disney and those deep pockets and all of that. I still think it was really, you know, very unacceptable that Star Wars Celebration didn't have carpet. I think that was just one of those things of, like, well, we cannot have carpet because a lot of people aren't having carpet right now, and it's okay. It's not that they're just trying to stay afloat and that's going to help Disney survive another day by not having carpet. But here, you know, whatever it is, Anime Expo, and it's funny because I think the last time we were at the LA Convention Center was LA Comic-Con, and we talked about how that show took a big step forward, we felt like, in 21, which was very surprising after being gone for a couple years. But I feel the same thing here, as I felt like Anime Expo, like, I feel like everything's just a little bit better than it was in 2019, and that may just be me looking at, like, the programming schedule and me looking at the floor and things like that. But I feel like I've heard a lot of positive things from guests this weekend as well. So I know it's fun, kind of clickbait, salacious stuff to see. Like there was a whole thing about the fire marshal shut down access to the lobby. Well, it's like, well, yeah, the lobby was filled with people, and the lines
doors
of people
hadn't opened yet.
Yeah, the floor hadn't opened yet, so you got to let people onto the floor, and then once people are on the floor, you can let the people from outside in the lobby. But instead, it was this clickbaity thing that everybody's sharing, like, oh my God, if Comic-Con's like this, what a mess, and this, you know. And it's just like, it's the same old, like, fake news stuff that we kind of live in, where people don't really do any research and they just retweet or, you know, click away or whatever it might be. So that being said, being here on the ground, can say that, oh yeah, it is massively crowded. I mean, we've posted so much. If you want to go to our Instagrams, you know, or Twitter or whatever, you can see, like, not trying to say that it's not all, you know, that it's easy walkways. I mean, you and I eat, like, we ate lunch today, and really all the days, like, at 10:30, because we know it's going to be like an hour wait to get food at 1 or noon. Like, it's just not going to be possible.
Well, and it seemed particularly challenging the last couple days around that time, because I walked around the areas and stuff and seen the lines and, like, thought about getting a snack or getting a cold water or something like that. But I think, I'm guessing the convention center is also dealing with the staff shortages that pretty much every place is.
Yeah.
But like, for example, at the Compass Cafe, if you're familiar with it, in the kind of the main hall of the LA Convention Center, usually, they're set up with, like, I think 3 or 4 registers on each side of the room, and they're usually well staffed and trying to get people in and out as quickly as possible. And there's usually a line for, like, the hamburgers and stuff that are made more fresh, but you can go in and grab a pizza or grab ready-made sandwiches and stuff. But when I went in there, was it yesterday, I think it was, they weren't using all those extra registers. They had set literally two cashiers in, like, the island where the soda fountains are also at. And so it just looked, it was very slow. It was early, but I looked around and saw that there was another kind of register that was off to the side, more by the grab-and-go stuff, and I wasn't sure if I could pay for the hot food there, but she let me. And so, but yeah, it was like, it wasn't even a lot of people at the time, and then one of the registers went down. I wasn't reading the cards.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, I literally went from where I could have been, like, right in front of that line, but then I think I went and grabbed a pizza or something like that, and I turn around, and all of a sudden the one register's closed, the other one has a long line, and this was early. There was only like 10 people in there at the time, and so it's like instantly. So I'm guessing it's staffing issues that they don't have the other registers open and stuff, and we're experiencing that, like, everywhere we go practically. So those lines are even more formidable in this environment, and so yeah, eating at 10 or 10:30 is almost kind of necessary at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, seating, like, we're sitting outside, and we're against a wall, and not that means much, but just to say like this is like prime territory to get a spot like this on the floor a lot of the time. Like it's because we're recording earlier as well right now that people are kind of just hitting the floor in these first few hours of the day that they're not ready for their breaks. But it is hard. Like there's times, yesterday you and I are on the floor and we're like, okay, we just need a break for a little bit. And it's just like, but you can't just go sit somewhere because there's nowhere to find a place to sit. And San Diego suffers from this as well, where, I know you and I at least know we can always go up to the mezzanine sales area and we'll definitely find a place to sit. Here,
it may be in the sun and it'll be outside without air conditioning,
that's
but we
not
can find
the
a
case.
place.
Here it's like, well, do we walk to LA Live? Now again, because we have press, there's a press lounge and we can't escape there, and we used that once yesterday. But, so I guess all of these little things that we're touching on here just to say, like, I want to portray things very honestly and accurately of like what the show is. It is a fantastic show. It's an awesome show. But it is can be tougher to navigate than San Diego Comic-Con in a lot of ways, and just crowds. And if you're somebody that's not into crowds, then that's something that's not going to be your conventions probably aren't your thing anyway. But particularly here, but at the same time, it is amazing and awesome, and I think very predictable. That's the thing too. Like it's always weird to me. I'll see some of the same people on social media that are kind of friends of friends or acquaintances and stuff complaining about some aspect about parking or about lining up, and I'm like, but you just complained about the same thing in 2019 and 2018 and 2017. Like, yes, it's always a challenge to find parking at Anime Expo when there's 110,000 people coming to the convention center.
Well, there is, and the LA Convention Center, the streets around it, I don't understand how this convention center is set up in this way next to two freeways and with, I don't know, the streets around this convention center are just kind of nightmarish to maneuver when you're doing a convention like this size or whatever. I mean, now, in regards to that complaint, I mean, it does seem like vendors should have like some sort of like a separate parking area so that they have access and don't need to, fight the same traffic to get in. But seemingly they don't allow that. Now, we have a parking structure that we've found that's pretty reasonably priced, and it's probably, I don't know, like 3/4 of a mile away.
Yeah, it's a ways. Let's not put even the name of it here because I don't like. We'll keep that for like Patreon or something like that. Just because parking is so rough around here, it's like that's our little like oasis where we park for that.
Well, I was just going to say, so we also avoided it. I mean, the first morning it's like maybe getting here at 8 o'clock was early enough. Turns out it wasn't. So it's like, okay, I'm going to hop out of this line and I guess I'll go hike from far away to get the parking that is usually there. But yeah, it is different than San Diego in that San Diego you end up getting your tickets the year before generally, and there's the hotel apocalypse and all that. This you could still buy tickets even a couple weeks ago or even last week.
I think the last tickets just sold out. Yeah, like last week, just a few days before the show.
Yeah, so there is a lot of challenges to get in and stuff, and so it's similar. It'd be very different in a lot of ways from Comic-Con, but whether it's parking or just getting in and stuff, there are definitely challenges with this convention center, and the streets around, like I said, are just, I don't understand who coordinated the way these streets are set up, but they're not meant for conventions of this size really out on the streets.
Well, traffic in LA is just its own series of podcasts by itself, but did want to say one last thing on the COVID side of things, just that masks were required. We got several questions or people like popping in our notifications, mentions and things like that about like seeing a video and seeing people without masks and this and that, and what has the compliance been and all that. And I think we're going to see very similar thing at San Diego, which is masks are required. Masks are reminded. I've seen people be reminded at doors of entryways. Here, there's a push notification going to the app several times a day of like, put your mask on, wear your mask, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, you're not going to see I don't know, what do these conventions have? At max, you're talking like 1,000 staff members. It's hard to control 100,000, so people do take their masks off, and they do. So I feel like overall, and it's varied by time of day, but I feel like overall it's been like, I don't know, 60% wear their masks, something like that, and maybe they wear it in the morning and take it off later as it gets hotter.
Well, I think that's definitely the case. Like, I think Friday morning when I was kind of looking around, it seemed like there was like really high compliance. I was really impressed by how many people were wearing their masks. I want to say it was like 80 or 90% of the people were wearing them. But then as the day went on, I was wearing an N95 because there's just so many people so it's obviously it's warmer. I kept it on, but I understand why people were taking the masks off, because the convention center, I don't know if they didn't have the AC pumped up high enough or if it's just the amount of people, but it was like warm. Like, this is kind of gross, but I was literally dealing with, like, I felt like beads of sweat under the mask coming down my face because it was so warm, and I would rather wear an N95 even in that condition than risk whatever. And so I kept it on, but it's pretty gross. So I understand why people are taking it off, because it is very uncomfortable and stuff. So but I think some Comic-Con attendees have a rude awakening of the combination of the mask and what we think is going to be no carpet there. That's a brutal combination, because here I was thinking, well, like, at least my feet felt so good all the time walking on carpet everywhere, but the mask was a pain. But same as you, have the N95 on, but I mean, I was going through like literally stacks of paper towels, like wiping sweat away, and I'm like, what is going on? And I'm looking around seeing a lot of people sweating, and even right now as it's a cooler day and stuff, but it is a challenging situation, so we'll see. But the thing is too is in California, which kept masks and closures a lot longer than most of the country, we also had our big Gavin Newsom press conference where he was with the Transformers at Universal Studios that we covered last June, where it was like everything's open and you don't need to wear masks. So most of the state now has spent a year, after a year and a half of being like really locked down and masks everywhere, to a year of like you don't need to worry about it at anywhere. And so it is tough then to bring people into a convention and expect everybody to comply. It's obviously, our opinion always is just to comply with whatever the rules are wherever, but at the same time, it's not a shocker that those things happen, So let's talk real quick, though, about, you did a big video on Friday, because usually, one, you don't love just doing video in general, but two, the live stuff, but you took over and did a live of the opening of the floor, which was really cool to see, and a lot of people enjoy it. It's actually the biggest live video we've ever done. A lot of people have watched it and seem to really enjoy it. As we're done with that, just to kind of capture on our own audio, any thoughts on how that was to do the live in the most challenging of atmosphere with thousands of bodies flying at you and running to go get whatever swag and exclusive on opening morning of this show? It was challenging. It was, but once I start a live, I really try not to like quit early or stuff. Obviously, if there's signal issues, I have no choice, but it really stresses me out when we put out in public we're doing this thing, and then so it feels like this immense pressure to actually go through with it. And so I wasn't going to quit, but I was like, oh my goodness, why am I doing this? Because if you've never met us in person, I'm very short, and so when I'm moving through big crowds, it's tough for me to like see what's ahead and stuff, because really what I'm usually looking at are like people's backs and stuff at best. And so there was good chunks of time where I'm just full on holding my arm way up in the air above my head, just so that anybody who's watching is looking at more than just people's backs. And so it was, I'm walking around the floor and literally walking into walls of people where I literally couldn't move or anything. And then I'm like, okay, I guess I'll turn around and go back another way, and then I'll go back. And it was just, it's video. I'm generally, I don't know, I prefer not to be in front of the camera. I prefer to be behind the camera, kind of shy that way, I guess. And this one, I started in front of the camera, but then of course I turned the camera, so it was mostly just getting other stuff. But it was just a lot of people, obviously, and I knew that. I've talked about it with like Comic-Con too, that I don't actually, as many things as we do in crowds, I don't actually do well in crowds. They're very challenging for me, and so I kind of had to do what I do at Comic-Con, where I sort of like flip a switch and just kind of know that I'm dealing with this crowds and just try to be okay with it and stuff. And so I did, and seemingly people enjoyed seeing it, I guess. But it was definitely challenging.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things I'm sure people, if anybody listening that is part, I mean, some people listening may be listening to this on YouTube, but if you're one of our, subscribers or you follow our stuff on YouTube, you know that we've really changed a lot of things in the last few years, or really the last year more so, I should say. But like, okay, we need to do thumbnails that are, grabbing attention and things like that. It's like I hate, spending 1 second on a thumbnail. Like, I just think it's like the most worst use of my time, but I know like that's a thing you need to do on YouTube, and there's a lot of things like that. And so also that we've just tried to kind of split up some of the video things as well. So like yesterday there was another point in the day where you and I split up, and you went and did videos on one side of the convention and I went and did them on the other side. And so hopefully for those that do follow along with us on YouTube, you'll enjoy what the improvements we're trying to make with YouTube in kind of multitasking and kind of breaking things up a little bit there.
Yeah, and if you are watching this on YouTube, what you're looking at is that footage I got at that point, because basically this environment was we didn't want to do this like a live like we do sometimes with podcasts and stuff, because security sometimes moves you. So at one point it's
there's
safe.
A lot of, actually that's a good point, just real quick, there's a lot of like you can go ahead and sit there on the floor and then a different security guard comes and now you can't sit there anymore. So there's a lot of interruptions here. Yeah,
so doing a live wasn't going to work or anything like that, so I'm like, well, I'll at least get footage of the floor and just kind of wander, and that will be what the YouTube people will watch as we're talking. So you should be seeing us up in the corner but taking a look at the floor. So I guess the floor would have been what today's Sunday, so that would have been like afternoon of Saturday. And so I just kind of did almost kind of what I did with the live, just kind of wandering around and just showing different
giving a feel for what
things.
It looks like.
So that's what you're looking at right now if you're on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's talk more about now some of the specifics of booths and swag and things like that. I mean, the big thing, it really feels like for so many, I mean, everywhere you look, there's a focus on One Piece, the very, very popular manga, anime, but specifically One Piece film Red. I mean, we're right now as we sit here, we have these nice, very Comic-Con-esque bags from Red that they're giving out at the booth there. One Piece what was it, Bandai, I guess, is the partner there. There's that whole thing we talked about back at WonderCon of Bandai, Tamashii Nation, and kind of getting the structure of how these businesses all work there. But anyway, lots of One Piece swag. The One Piece booth has been like the spot, and it's right there at the very front of the floor. So as soon as you walk in, there's the boat. It's a big, awesome, massive inflatable, yeah. But it looks so good. Like it's not like, I feel like I didn't notice it was inflatable till like the third time I saw it. I guess I just didn't, you're also running around the floor and it's crazy and there's bodies everywhere or whatever, but I'm like, wait, that looks really good. Like, so there's some really great detail in this thing, but it is inflatable. But they're giving out bags.
There's cards, bandanas.
The cards are the things. The cards are going like for like, I don't know, $50 or something like that on eBay for this little pack of cards. The bandana, the hats.
There's like the paper hat,
yes.
And like a little book. I'm not even sure if it's a catalog or.
And even over at Crunchyroll, they were giving out Red from One Piece, like guitar picks as well. And so there's just been a big focus on One Piece. As soon as you walk in, I mean, giant, inflatable as well. The wrap. There's always kind of like, well, there's a few wraps that go up at the LA Convention Center for Anime Expo, but this year One Piece is kind of the primary one on the, what is it, South Hall that we're over there? I believe
sure.
Yeah. So One Piece, definitely kind of the dominating thread of the weekend, I feel like, for many people. In terms of some of the other stuff there in that kind of similar area, though, on the floor, we went over to the Tamashii booth, part of the Bandai has, 6 booths, I believe, that are under their name, and then they're focused on different areas of the business.
Yeah, I think that's what you said, and they have both booths in the main hall and then also in the entertainment hall. They have more.
They have that massive Gundam base that we saw. I think it debuted for us on the West Coast at WonderCon. Maybe that was a general debut, I don't know. But it's like you're going into a space station, and they have a giant Gundam at the front that's kind of striking, almost like the He-Man, Eternia, Power of Grayskull pose, looking up to the sky. But that's awesome. A bunch of Dragon Ball figures coming up from SH Figure Arts. We've got some video of that. I mean, we've got a lot of different videos videos of on the channel of just, upcoming releases, prototypes, booth tours, things like that. So if you're interested in all those things, you should check them out. You found out one that slipped by me, but I thought was really cool, is the Ruby Protos over at RYBY Protos that they had over at their booth, and it was just kind of. What's that?
I'm not sure. You said RWBY.
Yeah,
okay, I thought you said something else.
Yeah, it's getting loud, so it's harder and harder to hear. But they were kind of nothing much else in the booth. It was kind of a weird booth, actually, and they went the opposite. I don't know if you noticed that, but like most of the booths have like really, so like you have carpet everywhere from the convention, but then many of the booths have like the extra, like you go onto Crunchyroll, it's like the extra special soft, thick carpet. But that one, they had no carpet inside when you walked in. It was like, but they had like a faux kind of like rock floor that you were standing on, and then they had these proto statues. What's that?
It was cushiony.
Cushiony? Oh, it's so sorry, but it was just kind of an interesting aesthetic. But anyway, I felt like they were almost kind of like not hidden away, but they were just kind of back there. But you got, I know, pictures of those as well. And a lot of people were interested in those.
Also kind of hard to see because the line for Good Smile basically kind of covers the entrance. So at one point when I went by, there was like a gap in the line, and so I jumped in, and I was like, oh, these are really kind of cool. And there's like some artwork on the walls and stuff, and I think if you either did a survey or did something, you could get a pin or something like that. And I overheard some guys talking. Oh, they were playing. There was something on the TV, like I don't know if it was clips from the show or whatever, but I heard some guy talking about it. He's like, oh, that was already released. That was released like yesterday or something like that. So, but the figures themselves were cool because they are in, like, they're not painted or anything. They're like in that gray kind of skull proto stage and stuff. So I thought they looked really cool and stuff. Yeah. So they're there.
Crunchyroll has a couple booths there. I mean, Crunchyroll really has, they've been a big part for a while, but I mean, now with Funimation and that whole relationship changing, I'm wearing my Funimation lanyard in honor of the old days of Funimation being at, in fact, that's when we first joined or got subscribed to Funimation, was because they were at, Anime Expo, but now Crunchyroll kind of stepping in that role in a lot of ways. They had a really nice kind of swag setup that was pretty, one of those, I always love those when they just have like a bar full of stuff, like, and you just grab things, and you're supposed to grab like one per, and sometimes they enforce that or not, but like they had they had a Midori My Hero Academia backpack to start, and I'm like, that's a really cool, like, just one item on this long table of different cards, and they had a stress ball, and they had a Crunchyroll hand sanitizer, and the red guitar pick, and it was just like a nice
posters and some cards,
a really nice setup there of just a lot of cool swag.
Well, they had the nice switchbacks for the queue as well, right in front. So
and all on very cushy carpet.
Yeah, and so it was very organized and stuff as far as getting in there to get the stuff. Whereas, like One Piece, that was challenging. What was it, yesterday? They did not have the ops set up well for that, and so there were people going in both directions into the booth. And at one point, I thought I was going towards an exit. I was literally stuck because on the one side, I think that they had probably thought would be the exit, there were all the people coming in from it was like right near open. So there was just a wall, like, of people, like there was no way to get out. And I figured, well, okay, I'll just hang out here for a little bit. And then finally some guys like asked the employees, they're like, well, how do we get out? And so eventually we made our way out, but I like literally was like having to like shove, well, I guess to some degree shove, but people were nice. I was like, I'm just trying to get out, and so they were like trying to like edge to like let me out, and eventually I got out of there. But that was not run.
You and I got separated there, and you were only like 3 people away from me, but ultimately like we lost each other, and I also had to, like, for lack of a better term, fight my way out. Like, it was so weird. Like, you got to what should be the end of the line of the One Piece swag, and then you could not exit, and then you had to like backtrack and fight.
Well, it's like all of a sudden people, I was there for a little while, as I said. Finally some guy came, I think was kind of organizing things, and told people that not to go on one side or that back side, that was only the exit, but there were still employees giving stuff out over there.
Yeah.
So of course there was a herds of people like reaching, trying to get a bandana or trying to get a fan. A fan was another thing that they were giving away. And And so yeah, that was not well coordinated at all,
Well,
and it was kind of dangerous. But I had already like gotten in my crowd mode, so I was okay, and I was wearing my N95. So even though I was like right up against people, I felt like I was pretty okay, like in that sense. And I just kept kind of nudging my way through. And as I said, people's like, once I started to be more vocal about that I was trying to get out, then they started to be more gracious about helping me get through, and then I finally made my way out. So.
Well, and for our San Diego Comic-Con people that are, going to be attending that, one of the things we've talked about in some of our, we've been doing all these tip videos and things like that is like, staffing. It's always temporary staffing at these conventions. But one thing, San Diego has benefited from it. A lot of the booths have had employee over, you've got a lot of the same Hasbro people coming year to year at Comic-Con, so they have
Hallmark, I totally recognize the Hallmark people.
But with the pandemic, if Anime Expo is any indicator, we know a lot of jobs have changed across America, not just in the convention world. But you could tell, like, the people running the One Piece booth were not ready to run a booth. Like, they did not, because the worst of it was on day 2, so they already had a day to try this out. So their next plan was the one you're talking about that encompassed people getting trapped inside.
I walked by and it looked very organized. They had the bags, but all the stuff was already stuffed in the bags, so they were just handing out the bags and you got everything and people grabbed it and walked away, But day 2, they didn't have all the bags filled, and they were still opening them at open and stuff, and it was a different situation than day 1, and
And it was a booth where it was very clear, like they have the bags at one side, and you should just be in a line, grab your bag, grab your swag to put in the bag, walk out. But instead, it was not that. It was like sharks coming in 4 different entrances to the cave or whatever. So anyway, though, those are things that, I feel after this show, like I feel even more confident in a lot of the things I've been saying about prepping for San Diego, and a lot of the kind of, booths are just going to be having to get their sea legs back, for lack of a better term. One booth that didn't have a lot of people at it, or at least when we went by, we did that actually at Open today, but was really a fun one to check out, was Jada. Jada Toys, which they've been at Comic-Con now for a few years as well, and they've been here at Anime Expo. We actually just saw them at Monster Palooza, which I believe it was their first time there, but they do those awesome die cast is their thing, and they do a variety of cars. Like, it's very common that they'll have a car with a figure,
And they do a lot of properties at Monster Palooza. They were like the Universal Monsters. But today it was like Hello Kitty and stuff. And so they have a lot of different genres or IPs that they work with.
Yeah, the Robotech ones looked awesome. Like, we'll put video of all this up on the channel, and we'll have some pictures on social to go with it as well. But, I have a few vintage Robotech figures, and I have some fond memories of vintage Robotech just playing with them. I would find them for $1 at Playco Toys, I remember, and so it was something I wasn't very familiar with the show, but I was oh, here's these cool looking sci-fi figures or whatever. But anyway, I'm looking at these cars, I'm like, this is really cool, and I think probably also because you don't see a lot of Robotech the way you do see, they also had Power Rangers, and it's like, well, I feel like I see so much Power Rangers that it doesn't quite light me up the way that maybe Robotech does. But they also have One Punch Man with his, he's going to have a car as well. Naruto, those were all pending licensor approval, so those were not ones that are for sale yet. But they have die-cast Hello Kitty with her car for $30, and but as you said, they're gobbling up a lot of licenses, and it really feels like it's the Funko approach, except I know their stuff has to be a much more intricate process in terms of the die-cast construction and the vehicles and stuff like that, but I think in the end they're taking a lot of the base cars and adapting them to different properties, and then most of the time what it is you get a car and a figure, and it's it ranges in price. It could be $10 to $20 sometimes. With these convention exclusives, $30 was the price on all of the cars that they had on sale there with the person. So you're getting a figure and a car for $30. I mean, in this day and age, it's a really cool thing there. So, but it looks like that's part of kind of their approach, is let's get as many licenses as we can. We can go to every convention. We can be in every type of store out there, and it seems very effective. They've got some good stuff there, and so they were sold out of the Hello Kitty with car. They did have some just Hello Kitty die-cast figures that were a little bigger than the one that comes with the car, and those were only $6 each. And I just thought, in general, again, kind of the Funko model of lots of properties at a reasonable price. Not as cheap as what Funko can be, obviously, with die-cast cars, but I think it's a good model, and I really like checking out their booth. And there wasn't any drama over there. That kind of at the back of the hall, them being a little bit newer on the scene. I think they're working their way up to the front at these conventions, but some good stuff there from Jada, and definitely something to keep an eye on. Kotobukiya, I always like checking out their stuff. We know Koto usually has a pretty small booth, all things considered here, relative to like what they do at Comic-Con, but it's always fun to see. One thing with them, and then also Good Smile Company. Good Smile Company has so many properties, some great stuff. I particularly like what they're doing with Attack on Titan and the Eren Yeager. They've got like 3 different versions of the Eren character, which particularly the XL version is like awesome, and we'll have video of that as well. But they also have like some Disney. They revealed a Goofy and a Buzz Lightyear this weekend. They get a lot of different licenses as well. But one thing that was just kind of interesting at both those booths, Koto and Good Smile, one, particularly a Good Smile, I don't know if Koto did this, they would have like, instead of an actual figure, like a prototype in some cases, they would have a rendering. So kind of like what we've seen like Hasbro do, where they've flashed up on like Hasbro Pulse and like, hey, we're gonna make Tomax, and it's like, here's a picture of him, and it's like, okay, so it's not the actual figure at all. It's like a drawing. And so the same thing here. They had a Stan Lee coming out from Good Smile Company, and it was just a drawing on a piece of cardboard. They have a Barbie, same thing, drawing on a piece of cardboard, and it was like, it's gonna be coming. So obviously that's supposed to be
Koto
pandemic.
Also had that.
Oh, did Koto have that too?
Yeah, the one section, I think it was particular. I don't remember. Maybe Demon Slayer or My Hero or something. I don't remember,
Okay.
but I think it might have been My Hero. Yeah, there were like 4 pictures of the stuff that's coming later and stuff. So, yeah.
Okay. And they also had, what they definitely had in common too, is some things on display had little signs, like handmade signs next to them that said no photos allowed. Now, nobody was enforcing it, but it's just kind of weird. Like, there's this sign that says no photos allowed, and they're pending license or approval, but it's just kind of so strange. There was actually one booth we went to, and I don't remember the name of it. They had a number of things, and you were like, should we do video of this? And then they had big signs, no photo or video of anything at their booth. And I'm like, that's so strange. Like, it feels like, such an archaic thing of like, well, I guess I'll write a letter about it to my friend and put a stamp on it and mail it to them. Like, the whole point of coming to these cons, obviously, is there's a lot more than just, the advertisement. There is the behind-the-scenes networking of the professional side, too. But a lot of it is trying to get some social media buzz of, like, take pictures and videos. So, like, over at I keep messing up, the Good Smile Company, they had one of the nurses from Silent Hill. The figure looked awesome, but it had a big sign next to it that said no photos, so we couldn't put photos out or video, and it would have been like one of the first things I would have posted, because I know, especially for like our Halloween horror crowd, they would have loved to see it, but instead it was just like, well, we just can't do it. So it's kind of interesting, the choice to even bring these, but we ended up not doing even a video of the Koto booth, because it felt like so much of the booth was kind of in that vein of not having photos or videos allowed of certain things there.
Yeah, well, in Koto, the ones that really were further out just were the pictures and stuff. So, but yeah, in regards to the no photo thing, it was also kind of interesting going to Artist Alley, and there's like a big sign at the front of the aisles that said, basically no photos or video without the individual artist's approval or whatever. And so that was an area I think someone had asked us to do like a live or walkthrough video of Artist Alley. And well, for one, Artist Alley, we've discussed it before but at Anime Expo, it is very, very challenging just with the amount of people in each aisle and stuff, because it's popular, it's great like artists and stuff down there and stuff, and so it's a very crowded, so it would have been very challenging to do it anyways. But then also there's a big sign, like I said, that said no photo or video. I'm like, okay, well, we're not going to go down each aisle and ask each person, can we take photos, can we do video? That's just way too tedious and stuff, especially with the crowd amount of people in there. So so that was another situation where we weren't able to do photos or video, even though people had asked us for it, but we couldn't do it.
Yeah, and actually, Artist Alley, since you've brought that up, I had that a little bit later in the script, but those just use it now, is I'm not sure we're going to make it down every row of Artist Alley this time around. We'll see. We haven't as of yet, but it is, as you said, very challenging to make your way through that alley, and I've never seen a more crowded Artist Alley. Now, we have brought this up. If you're not familiar with anime shows always have crowded artist alleys from what we've seen. It is so the opposite than American shows, where it's very common to go to like if you go to a Long Beach Comic Con in 2019, there was many points where you didn't want to go into Artist Alley because it felt so awkward because no one was going in that area. Whereas you come to Anime Expo, it's as hard to get through Artist Alley as it is to get swag at the One Piece booth, which is like the hottest thing on the exhibit hall floor. And so that's a very specific. I always say, like, if I was an artist, I would figure out a way to incorporate some anime stuff in there to make sure to get out to those shows because there's just such a demand there. But they've definitely got some big things going on there. So yeah, those are some kind of interesting things just on the no video, no photo side of some of those things. And curious, are there going to be many booths at Comic-Con? They're going to have some sort of prototypes out and say no photo. And again, not that people won't take photos and video anyway, but it's like we ourselves were rule followers. That stuff, we're not going to post any of those types of things. The other thing I want to say I'll say real quick, the app I really have been impressed with. That's kind of a step to the side we could talk about, but just the app I thought has been really user-friendly and worked really well in general. But did want to hit also, like, they do have a lot of panels going on, and one of the things, like, as you and I are more comfortable with, like, for example, there was Demon Slayer was having a 3rd anniversary celebration. I know you and I would have liked to go to. My Hero Academia, they did the North American premiere of their OVA as well on the, they call it the premiere stage, I believe, over there. These are, like, awesome, like, major league awesome panels, and people are lined up all over the convention center for those and things like that. Several panels, when you're talking about them at that level, though, they require tickets, and so there's something as you're kind of leading into Anime Expo, they'll reveal, like, 5 days before the con or 10 days before the con, like, here's this panel, here's what you need to do if you want to get tickets and stuff. Now, because our badges were so in flux, like that we didn't know, which we should say too, it was very awesome that they got back to us afterwards and just totally took care of us. I don't even they were just so awesome. Anime Expo was. I don't know what happened in the initial thing of that was the day they were processing applications that they didn't get to ours, but once it was oh, parks and cons, and yeah, you guys have covered us, yeah, totally, please come and cover the show, and it was that's awesome. But because we didn't have our badges situated with all of that, we didn't get priority tickets or anything for those things. But there are some great panels, and I mean, there's things also like Macross then and now, and Pokemon, and a lot of variety.
Also, I think as press, depending on the panels, we do have priority access to them. But I'm definitely, of the two of us, I'm the one who really enjoys panels, and I like to take breaks in them. But this show, there's so much going on the floor and in the lobby with cosplayers, and just it really hasn't
Feel like there's time, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's there's too much to do than to go sit in a panel, which if you follow us, you know that usually I'm pretty diligent about it, getting us into some panels or whatever and stuff. But at this show, that's not one of the things that we really do because there's so much other stuff to experience and stuff. So I don't know, maybe we'll get a chance to go to a panel later today or something like that. But yeah, this show, there's just so much going on and trying to experience everything and stuff. And so yeah, panels just haven't been a priority this weekend, or I think most of the Anime Expos that we've been to.
Yeah, in 2019 we went to a One Piece one that was good, and I remember I still have the button on display at home and stuff like that. But yeah, you're right. There's so much that kind of sucks in the floor, and I guess that's how I feel at almost every convention. But here, it's a bit more with that. And I mean, actually, you can see that in, let's talk about the entertainment hall, because so you have the exhibit hall, which is this massive floor with all the exhibitors. Artist Alley is a separate hall, all by itself.
It's in Kensha, which is kind of below or underneath the main exhibit floor.
Yeah.
And I think for some shows, actually, it acts as a parking lot.
Yeah. And if you went to Kamikaze Expo #1, 10, 11 years ago, that's where that one was. I remember being down in the garage, and Jonathan Frakes having a panel down there with just some drapes up, and how things have changed over time. But yeah, for this show, it is Artist Alley, and so you have all the artists down there, but you also have art extending to tattoo art as well, and voice artistry, and so like different, not just
they
like
do like
drawing.
portfolio reviews down there
Yep.
too, and some different things that are going on.
So
down
that's
there.
a whole, that could be a convention unto itself, Artist Alley. Then the exhibit hall could be a convention unto itself. Then we have over in the, what is it, West Hall, is the entertainment hall, which also could be a convention unto itself. And the entertainment hall is, as it sounds, very much focused on the entertainment side. Hulu was there, one of the booths. Right away we walked in, and Hulu anime, it's called Anime at Hulu, was kind of what they're pushing. They had a great booth, like just a nice Hulu booth with the thick carpet, and they were doing all sorts of games and giving out these incredible canvas Hulu anime bags that actually had zippers. I was trying to think, like, I don't feel like I've gotten a bag with a zipper on it at a con since, like, I don't know, 2010 or something. Like, I feel like maybe there was an Iron Man bag I got from like 2008 or something at San Diego or something, but like this is like a legit bag.
Which is the anime show at Ontario Convention Center?
Oh, Comic-Con LA had one with the, oh, you're right, they did. That was their swag
at the
bag.
Ontario Convention Center.
I'm sorry, Anime LA.
Yeah, I think there were a couple years that they had zippered bags.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I don't
impressive.
think they did the last time we were there.
Yeah, and not that really I need a zipper on any bag, but it's just like stands out of like, oh wait, this is not just like a plastic tote.
Well, and it was like a nice thick fabric too. It was
bag,
different. It was very different than like the WB bags or whatever. It was like actual thick cloth and stuff, which was
and
nice.
They have their own little kind of anime mascot that they created that's kind of cutesy on it. And so all you had to do is post something on social media with a picture of the booth and had a hashtag Hulu at Anime Expo. Now that is the type of swag stuff that I think, I talked about in 2019 at San Diego, that I think that's more of the world now, where like this is more, instead of the company just giving you something, they want something in return. So they're like, give us some space on your digital platform by tagging us or hashtagging us, and then we'll give you, XYZ. And so that was one of those cases, but I was plenty fine to do it, and I was going to post about them anyway being there. I thought they had a really nice booth, and it was great there. Lots of gaming opportunities there of all sorts, whether you're looking into cards or esports or whatever it might be, all going on over there. Another big highlight, and a lot of people were really excited about this, was Twisted Wonderland. Disney had a booth over there, and so a big booth, plush carpet, walk inside. They had some great art on the outside there. I was not aware of what Twisted Wonderland was until we got there. In fact, you were helping kind of educate me on it as I was putting together the video for it. But we had a lot of people tune in. We've already had, like, I think 1,200 people tune into this video and are pretty excited about this.
Yeah, I guess it was a game that came out in Japan during the pandemic,
Yeah.
and now it's being brought out widely. And there's a QR code, and so I was able to download it on my phone, so you don't seemingly need like a PlayStation or Sega or any particular
mobile
equipment.
only is, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't actually play it, so I don't know, but I'm guessing it's like a pay for upgrades or for extra lives or something like that, but just downloading on the phone didn't cost me anything or anything like that.
And the notion seems to be that there are multiple Disney villain schools with these like anime characters in them, and so each of the schools is it felt very,
Actually, weren't they individual dorms at a school?
Yes, dorms. I'm sorry, dorms. Yes, so it felt very kind of Harry Potter in a way, of like there's different dorms.
Well, there was the Savannah Claw, which had Scar as like the main character, the main picture, and it was kind of wearing like a scarf or like an ascot or something like that that said Savannah Claw, which looked a lot like a Gryffindor or a Ravenclaw sort of look to it.
Yeah. What's like Ursula has her own school, Maleficent has a school. The Maleficent one particularly stood out because the main kind of character from that dorm has on like a helmet that has horns. It totally looks like Loki. Like, it looks like it's Kid Loki, like an anime Kid Loki. And then the staff, like they have a staff, so it's a anime-looking, very kind of Kid Loki with a staff then, like we often see Loki have, but the staff is the spindle that Sleeping Beauty pricks her finger on, that puts her into the sleep. So, like, that's his staff, has the spindle on it. And I'm like, this is like I'm not going to play the game, to be honest, but it was interesting and it was fun, and people were very passionate about their love for this game. So this has like a big following. Cause like the comments we got from it were not like, we get a lot of like, thanks for doing this, hope you're enjoying the show. This was like, I'm in tears, I can't believe you were able to get this, it means so much to me. It was like we were doing like volunteer work, helping, feed hungry children or something. Like, people seem to really appreciate it. But at the end of the day, it was just a Disney booth with a fun little game there that people seem to be really into. So it has bridged over here now to America, and it seems like it's got quite a fan base. So I didn't know if how it would, fit in here, but it seemed to fit in quite well and seemed to be quite popular all the way around. So that was fun, and you can check out that video on our YouTube channel if you're interested in seeing more, because I really did kind of try to take time understanding it myself as I was doing the video, and I think the audience was following along with me as we did that one live as well. Also in the entertainment hall, well, so there's a lot more, well, I shouldn't say a lot more, but it definitely feels like there's more booths over there. Like, it used to feel like 5 years ago a little more roomy. Now it feels more like this is a full-on convention floor, just like a normal floor here. But what they've always had is the cosplay sets over there, and I love that they do this. Is they have, what do you think, maybe 10 different sets, 12, something like that?
Something like that, but they're like very elaborate, like sets and
three-dimensional.
Like,
these are not photo
with,
backdrops.
Like desks in them and bridges with like cherry blossoms and stuff. They're like very elaborate and very cool.
Yeah, you got post-apocalyptic. You've got like a sci-fi, like if you want to talk Robotech, you've got like a sci-fi type of a set there. So like when we went by, there was a couple Macross that were in there and cosplay, and it just looked fantastic. It's so awesome to give them these sets. Phoenix Comic-Con, Phoenix Fan Fusion these days always has done a good job with that, of a lot of cosplayers coming in and bringing their sets. I don't know how they facilitate it here at Anime Expo, but all I know is you can always count on them having these great sets. And when we were over there, so the exhibit hall and Artist Alley, I believe, close at 6. I know the exhibit hall does. I think Artist Alley does as well. Yeah, they both 6. The entertainment hall didn't close till 10.
Correct.
But the entertainment hall, was packed. And the line for these cosplay set photos was probably, in most cases, 15, 20 minutes of people waiting just to take their photo with these awesome sets. Because, again, they're three-dimensional. They're not just backdrops, it's really, really awesome that they give that. It's I always go back to, with Avengers Campus at Disneyland. You got to give the action figures a play set. And so you have all these incredible cosplayers, because cosplay is so awesome and so next level. And we've got videos for those, and more video actually is recording planned to come out of the cosplay. Highly suggest you check it out. But you take these next level cosplayers and now you give them a play set to be on, and it just kind of amplifies everything.
Yeah, but though it did seem like those sets were more condensed or more compact, like they were making
spacing.
more room for some of those other bigger booths that are over there this time. Aniplex or the Aniplex, like a really big space on the floor as well. Actually, the Disney booth was kind of attached to there, so I'm not sure if they were actually together or sharing a space, or if there's a difference there. But yeah, they were there. There's a lot going on. Round 9, I think, is it's like a bowling alley or something like that. They had a big section in there, and we're also recruiting, trying to hire people or recruiting in that way. But yeah, lots of stuff going on. There's a stage down there too. I don't remember what panels to go on down there.
I think it's the community stage, if I recall correctly.
So yeah, there's a stage, and just a lot going on in the entertainment hall.
And I used to love going to the entertainment hall when I first started coming, because there were several years you didn't come. I came by myself to the con, and I always, I have always prided myself that I think I came and covered it for, I want to say 5 years before we asked for press, because I felt like, even if we have numbers, it feels disingenuous for someone that doesn't really know anime. I'm basically this poser here. I shouldn't be taking up someone's press badge, but then eventually it's okay, now we know more stuff. But anyway, back in those days before you would come, that's where I would go, because it was dead over there. It was cold. The air conditioning was blasting away. It was like Antarctica over there, and I would go and easily find a seat anywhere and not worry about it. Nowadays, it's packed, and again, you've got Hulu and you've got Disney and you've got all of these different big companies over there, in addition to the cosplay sets and stuff. It's a really neat little area there. And then right outside the entertainment hall, to kind of expand on that, there was basically the equivalent of an off-site activation. So you step outside the entertainment hall and it's what is this? Is this a photo op? We saw there was a One Piece photo op, because again, One Piece is dominating the weekend, and it was one of those kind of forced perspective ones where it was you and I were standing in front of the ship there. But also with it was Pluto TV was there, and they had a Lupin escape room, which I don't think you're very familiar with Lupin, but that recently had a Netflix special as well. And Lupin is like the ultimate thief. So we were basically placed in the role of Lupin. We had to escape the escape room, and it was a 1-minute escape room. So it was basically like, 30 seconds to describe what we were going to do and 30 seconds to solve the puzzle. And the puzzle was basically...
you just need to listen for a password,
yeah,
basically.
you had to dodge red laser beams. That was the fun part, is you're timing the red laser beams, and so they weren't real lasers.
I would have been dead and sliced in many pieces if they had been real lasers.
So were you not trying to time them?
I
was playing it for real.
I don't know. I was a little confused. I wasn't sure. There's a countdown clock, so I wasn't sure if that countdown clock was the amount of time we had to get through, or if we needed I thought the guy said to wait for the countdown. Then I thought we were supposed to go inside. So the countdown had already started. I think immediately I walked into that room, and I think I already was in a laser. So I don't know. I sucked at that.
I was taking the lasers very seriously because it's just fun. It's fun because the lasers were alternating. It was just like you would see in the old movie Entrapment or whatever, where you're seeing, or if you've seen in Mission Impossible or something, you have to go under the red lasers or over them or jump and, do flips. And obviously we're not doing that, but these were timed. And so it's one would be high, low, so I had to watch my feet, my head, my, waist.
Yeah, the fact that I didn't even realize that tells how, I just did not get what we were doing exactly. I don't know. I was... Obviously, most of the escape rooms we do are these elaborate things and stuff. And so when I asked the guy, well, how long is it? Because he was at the time, I think they normally had a long line, but because of the weird time that we were there and so many people were inside the entertainment hall and the main halls had already closed and stuff, he was basically standing out there asking people if they wanted to do it. And I'm like, well, how long is it? And he's like a minute. I'm like, okay, sure. And then I was thrown off. And so, yeah, I sucked at that one.
I was trying to navigate the alternating lasers, memorize the password, and take photos to be able to share on social media through the thing. And I managed to do all except fully hear my hearing failed me because I could not quite get the password. And we won't say it here because maybe this is going to pop up at Comic-Con. I don't know. I know there was some notes of Pluto TV doing some work with IGN. It looks like IGN is going to be streaming their coverage of Comic-Con on Pluto TV. But I would not be surprised at all to see what you and I did show up in the Petco Interactive Zone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if we have another chance, and I can go into it more knowledgeably. But yeah, I was like, what are we doing? I'm there's these lights and these lasers. I'm I know I'm supposed to be avoiding the lasers, but I'm standing right in the middle of lasers. So I don't know. I didn't catch the timing aspect of things at all. So yeah.
So
but I still made it out alive.
Yeah, we're still here to podcast today. So it's just been such a fun time here. I mean, I'm glad. I feel like you enjoyed the show, the convention a lot more. I mean, obviously there was a time you weren't coming to the show, so it's one of those conventions that's really, gone for us being a again. I think the first day I came, I think I met our friend Andrew here, came for a day, and that was it. There's been some years I bought a 2-day badge, or some days I mean, again, there was these years of just kind of popping in and trying to learn some stuff. And I remember crowdsourcing things, posting a picture of a cosplay and asking people for help, or Googling things. And now it feels good to be sitting here and be oh, that's a cross Master Roshi sitting over there, and knowing who some of these characters are and be able to identify them. But it's become a really a fun convention for us, and it's one I really look forward to each year. And it's one that I missed a lot between 2019 and 2022. I don't feel like it has the year-round obsession that San Diego has for a lot of people, but there are a lot of people that are coming every year, and that are excited. And I know that we're amongst those that every year are kind of counting down to it and excited to check it out. And I'm really excited to check it out in 2023. Their dates are announced in 23. They'll be back July 1st through the 4th of 23. So definitely be excited to be here to take that all in and kind of see what else we're able to take out of Anime Expo that time around. I know it felt really good to put this really nice lanyard on. I told you, like, I felt just stronger. Like, I felt like the Force was with me, or the sun rays for Superman. Like, it just felt like, being on a big convention floor with a lanyard on, with plushy carpet, zipping around, trying to find, swag and stuff. It just felt good to, quote unquote, be back.
So I just pulled up the calendar for 2023. So if it's the 1st or the 4th, it's going Saturday through Tuesday.
Really?
Next year.
Okay.
Which, I mean, it always seems to be right around 4th of July, and it's 4 days, and I feel like in the past it sometimes it started on Thursday even, but if those dates are correct, then yes, Saturday through Tuesday next year, which will be a little different.
Oh, very interesting. So, well, we will be here, I would imagine. Hopefully so, everything goes right. So we'll be back for it, and we hope that you'll all join us once again. We thank you for tuning in to this episode. If you found it on YouTube, thank you for being there. Please let people know about us, give it a thumbs up, etc. For our ever loyal audio crowd, thank you so much again for tuning in there as well. We want to take a moment to thank our Parks and Cons crew so much. We greatly appreciate all of your support via Patreon there. We hope that you're enjoying the bonus hops that we have instituted, the con hop going on right now, which is 4 targeted weeks of kind of convention goodness, focused obviously very specifically for us on San Diego Comic-Con. We're doing bonus content exclusive for our Patreon members there, as well as special giveaways just for our Patreon people on that platform as well. As we look at the calendar up ahead here, there is not a lot in front of us outside of San Diego Comic-Con. I mean, our focus is so much San Diego Comic-Con. We definitely will have some more San Diego Comic-Con podcast stuff coming up. Outside of that, I don't know. We'll probably hit the OC Fair. It starts up July 15th. We'll see about that. Very excited, though. As soon as San Diego's over, we've got Midsummer Scream right there to kind of kick off that Halloween season. So it's going to be like 3 or 4 days in between one con to the next one for us there. If you would, you can always follow along with us on social media. You can find us at Parks and Cons on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and of course YouTube. Wrapping up here for Anime Expo 2022. Until next time, we'll see you in line somewhere.